we're starting with Chinamara. Thank you.
Okay, hello, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're joining us from. It's my pleasure to be on this panel. And just to make it so brief, I'm just going to tell you what I do about myself. I mean, you already heard about my name, so I'm just going to go ahead to tell you what I do. So, I'm an economics by profession, and with a couple of certification and hands-on experience in the development space. So basically, my expertise lies in development strategy, program management, and advocacy for gender parity and women's representation in leadership positions across Africa. And over the past 3 years, I've actually made some significant contribution regarding gender-focused development space between base. I worked with women in management, business, and public service, serving in roles ranging from research officer to program executive. And in those capacities, I facilitated industry surveys and contributed to publications on gender inclusiveness and gender parity, and also spearheaded scale-up programs aimed at empowering women in corporate Africa. And currently now, as a strategy officer at Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, I oversee the development, implementation, monitoring of strategic initiatives to tackle unemployment and foster wealth creation in Lagos. So that in a nutshell is about me. Thank you, and it's my pleasure to be here. Over to you, Bali.
Thank you, Chidamara. I'm starstruck. I don't know about you. She said that was brief. So I imagine what will happen if she takes us in depth. Like, whoosh. All right. It's so nice to meet you, Chinamara, at least on this platform. Me and you, we go way back. So join me and welcome Kadwama Deborah, as she also tells us a little bit about herself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Kindly confirm if you can hear me loud and clear.
Loud and clear, crystal.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be on this call with such amazing ladies. My name is Kadwama Deborah Lazarus, and by profession, I'm a digital product designer. I am working remotely with a Kenyan agricultural technology company, Hello Tractor, and I've been working with them for the past 2 years as a digital product designer in the tech space. And aside that, being a female leader in the tech space, I have also founded Northeast Women in Tech out of sheer passion to see other Northeastern women and girls participate and explore technologically related courses. As we are used to the conventional career path, we're trying to expose Northeastern girls and women to understand that there are other career paths to explore in STEM and technology at large. So that's basically about me. Northeast Women in Tech was founded in 2021. And so far, we've been driving it with so much force and passion. And I'm excited here to be part of the panelists to share our concerns as women in the corporate space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kadwama. Shout out to all the techies and all the work they're doing, changing, all of what we experience in the world, especially in digital spaces, content, and these are the people, the brains behind what we experience, even Zoom. So thank you so much. I'm thrilled to have you here. Now to the gentleman who we know is our ally, Mr. Michael Alasa. I would like you to introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I want to confirm if you can hear me.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So, yeah, okay. So I'm the only man amongst all the wonderful and beautiful ladies here. So thank you for having me here. So my name is Michael Alasa, and I'm actually a senior HR professional, more like a corporate strategist. And I'm also more like a career and management consultant. I sit on a board in Zimbabwe, and I've actually gained experience as an HR practitioner across different sectors. Is it automobile? Is it aviation? Is it health sector, fintech, HR tech, consulting, and the likes? So, my kind of person, I more like a deep thinker, strategic partner. You can name it anything that you can actually fill into the box. But one thing about me is that I'm highly passionate about human capital development because I see it as a strategic tool for achieving organizational successes. And because of that passion, I've been involved in a lot of, activities, a lot of engagement that has really demonstrated my capacity. Like, for example, diversity and inclusion, process improvement, performance management, and the like. So I've worked across different organizations capacity. And just a little bit about my portfolio. I've previously worked on different roles, with many organizations. I think with AHRP, being the vice chairman for corporate communication, legal regulatory body. I've even chaired a committee as the director for strategy and partnership with an African American organization, which is actually based in the United States. And well, I'm also privileged to have established my own HR consulting firm. So I'm the founder of Recruiting Consulting Limited. And like I mentioned earlier, I sit on a board. So I'm actually a board member of an HR outfit in Zimbabwe. So currently, I'm privileged to be the Chief Operating Officer for Blackscale Limited, which is actually an HR tech company focused on Africa, ensuring that talent gain that visibility, either male or female, they gain that visibility to potential employers. So that's a brief information about me. Thank you very much for having me once again. Thank you.
So much. Thank you. Thank you. And now that we've met our panelists, we're going to dive right in. So naturally, every year we get a theme for International Women's Day, and everybody has an idea of what it should mean. Inspiring inclusion, right? That's our theme for 2024. And to inspire is to motivate someone, to gear someone towards doing something you want. Not necessarily forcing them, but kind of shape their thinking towards what you want. And what we want as women is inclusion, and we are trying to inspire it in every way. So in this webinar, we're going to be talking about how we're going to inspire inclusion in the corporate space and in corporate leadership for women. As Aderian Sola was saying earlier, you rarely see it as inspiring inclusion for men in leadership, inspiring this for men in this. No, the gender stereotype and bias already pushes that men are the ones who own this space and occupy this space. So we need to bring our consciousness towards the fact that women are already excluded by virtue of these taglines. We already know that we are not expected to be in those spaces. But hey, thank God for progress. We are there. Now that we are there, how can we be more accommodating of ourselves and of our needs? And so in this little discussion where we're going to talk about creating inclusive workspaces for women, we're just going to focus on a few key things. Now, mostly we know women are always in transition, and Mr. Michael can agree with me, like even in employing as HR, there are concerns with employing women. Oh, you employ a young vibrant woman and she's driving, next thing she starts her own family and she has to go on maternity leave and she has to start childcare, and all of these things impede in some way her contribution to the company. And because of that, most organizations are very hesitant towards including women into these spaces. But it's the world. Our bodies are evolving. We are constantly in transition and in motion. We wouldn't exclude women who make the workforce super productive just because they have biological and chronological functions in the world. It's the way the world was made. It is not something we can control, but it's something we can accommodate, right? So I'm just going to go dive deep in and start with the questions. I hope that you guys are on this call with me and we would learn so much from our panelists. So the first thing I would like to ask is, I'll throw this question to Chinemerem. How have you seen or experienced exclusion in your work environment? Now, you mentioned your work is really across women and bridging the gender gap and gender disparity, and you've worked in different organizations, you've liaised with different people in Nigeria. So how have you experienced it, or how have you seen exclusion?
Okay, thank you so much, Bali, for that question. But before I answer that, I would just want to share my thoughts on what the theme means for me. So I just feel that this particular theme that we're discussing on, which is creating inclusive environment for women, for me, it's kind of signifies dismantling barriers that hinder their full participation in the workspace. So it's more about creating that environment where every woman feel heard and supported to thrive professionally. So not just heard, but you're supported and you're also included in that environment. You see the decisions that take place in the environment, the setup, the policies include and future women and the dynamics about women in settings and in policies. So that's just my thoughts on that team. And then I would also want to include Malala's quote where she said, "We cannot succeed when half of us are held back." And then I have this quote by one of my favorite economists. She said, "The opportunity cost of ignoring the female economy is terribly expensive. You cannot have 50% of the population as women and the other 50% born by women, and yet you ignore the female gender. It's quite expensive to do that." So, and that's why this topic or this particular topic is very, very crucial because in our policies and environment, we should be able to make that provision for women to be fully participated. And then I'm going to answer your question if I've experienced exclusion in my work environment. Categorically, I will tell you no. I've been fortunate to work in a very good work environment. So in my former place, I haven't witnessed any exclusion. At my previous workplace, we have women well represented in leadership positions. In fact, from the board to the management and the entire team, we had over 70% of female representation. But having said that, I think I've witnessed some subtle biases. So it's one thing um, to have those structures or to create that environment for women to foster their full participation is another thing to also deal with the subtle biases that you might not notice. So, for example, when it comes to either promotion or leadership positions, and then you have this upcoming young ladies and they just get bypassed because they feel you don't have the stamina to do this. Are you sure you can actually handle the show? And just like you mentioned, this one might probably get married very soon and have a lot of responsibilities. I may not be able to deliver fully on that role. So some of the subtle biases are something we also should also look out for. And then as individuals, first is actually building that habit of inclusiveness as an individual. When you walk into a room and you don't see a lady in that room and you're the first lady walking into that room, do you ask a question? Why am I the only person here? Why are there no ladies here? Why is it just one person or two ladies that are in this room? So like having that behavior and then even if you can't influence policies at your current position, but you can develop those habits, you can actually give contributions and make suggestions when policies are being made and all of that. So that's my thoughts on that question. Thank you, Bali.
Thank you so much, Ma'am. That was so insightful. All right, Karoma, I'll ask you a question. And given that you work remotely, I would like to hear your thoughts on this, right? We know that, again, I mentioned women are constantly in motion. So some workplaces make available child-friendly environments. You have daycare near the office, there are lactation rooms, and things like that. Well, there is a diverse range of needs for women. It goes from young women, and there are cases like period care, for instance. We have maternity leave, and all this diversity and this wide range of needs. Is an inclusive environment truly achievable with all these needs that are cropping up everywhere in every angle? I mean, you're in Nigeria, and an inclusive environment is possible with this diversity.
Thank you, Balpalam, for that very brilliant question. I will agree with you that there's so many wide range of needs that are coming up right now, especially in the corporate workspace. Like you made mention, there is the young girl who is just getting started in the corporate workspace, and what she needs is just to be heard, for her ideas to be validated, for her leaders to support her and actually push some of her initiative and ideas. There is the mothers in the workspace that they just want a conducive environment where they can effectively carry out their parental responsibilities. Um, and it goes on and on. There are women with physical and invisible disabilities, and they just want facilities in the workspace that enhances their work, that helps them and not discourage them to carry out. And this is very, very important because women, we all know, we thrive in an environment where we feel heard. We thrive in an environment where it's conducive and we're able to perform well. So as much as this is daunting with the diversity of needs, yes, I would say it's very achievable. Looking at the state we are in Nigeria, regardless of the economic position we are in currently and the fact that we're still a developing country, I strongly believe that it's achievable. And there are a few things that we can put in place to achieve that despite the diverse needs. I know I work remotely, but once in a while I visit the office, I travel and visit the office, and I see the amount of work put in place, especially for parenting mothers. There is a space for them to go and feed their children and, change them and things like this. And it can be adopted across all levels. It all boils down to being intentional. It boils down to having empathy and putting yourself in that position, right? So it's diverse. There are strategies that can be put in place to address each of these needs one at a time. But I think the first thing to put in place is understanding how important this is to make women flourish, make them feel heard, and make them create an environment that they can perform their work well. So it goes down to sharing knowledge, enlightenment, people understanding how sensitive we can be, people understanding what it means to go through cramps, people understanding what it means to be a mother. Even though you're not a mother, you can empathize with her and understand that these are her needs. So having that basic understanding and then beginning to push policies in place that can support and create that conducive environment is very, very important. I know that top and international organizations are trying to put all of these things in place. So it's left, and we should glean and look at how they have been trying to put in these things in place and how it's positively affecting their organizations. Take, for example, Google. Even the certification course I was taking last year for their animations, they're trying to capture everyone with diverse needs. Do you understand? And we can see where they are right now. So sometimes we feel like these things are not very important. When we look at it critically, these are the things that promotes an organization and takes it to the next step. So I think the first thing to put in place is really sharing knowledge and understanding the importance of considering and creating an inclusive environment for women with diverse needs. So yes, definitely, this is achievable.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kadwani. That was amazing. And of course, for those who were part of our recently concluded Leadership Accelerator program and the bootcamp, we established that, to be honest, for women, I think even in life, balance is a myth we're constantly chasing, but we must find rhythm in our lives. And I love what you talked about. Of course, it's evident your tech is coming up. Empathy, 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 to put yourself in the position of the person you are trying to cater for, that person's need and that person's peculiarity. Yes, you've gone ahead of me to, introduce the next question I'm going to ask, basically. So I am an advocate for persons with disabilities, especially the invisible disabilities. In a place like Nigeria where it's fictitious, nobody believes you, you are struggling with ADHD and you have to keep your head at the top of the game. Let's say you're holding a managerial role in a corporate organization and you have attention deficit disorder, or you are hyperactive, or maybe you struggle with time management, and not because you are badly behaved, but because your neurodiversity does not allow you to keep hold on time. what is the provision for people like this who are really talented, they are gifted, they are capable, they just need extra support to get them to where they ought to be. People whose disabilities may not be in Nigeria, our idea of inclusion starts and ends with ramps. So you would see that there is a ramp to lead you into a building, but the ramp is very impractical because the ramp will lead you to a door that your wheelchair cannot fit into. And we have people who are hard of hearing, people with hearing impairments, people with visual impairments. So how do you include this type of people in the corporate workspace and in leadership? So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Michael, is there any provision for the inclusion of women with visible and invisible disabilities? This question goes to you particularly because of the peculiarity of your skill set and the role you play in life. I'm sorry, can you hear me, sir?
No, we can't hear.
Okay, yeah, I can't hear him either. Oops. It's as though he's gone off the call. Oh dear. All right, there is a comment in the chat box, and I'm just going to read it. Does inclusion only mean employing women? Sometimes the exclusion goes deeper than employability. Yes, I mean, like Deborah was explaining earlier, you employ people, but how do you keep them in the workplace, right? The workplace can be hostile towards them. The environment is not accommodating, does not help them flourish, because our idea of work is not just to work and earn. We're trying to contribute and add value to the world. So we should be in a place that we are seen, we are heard. Mr. Michael, you're back. Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you very much. All right, thank you for the question. That's a very sensitive question, and sincerely, it's a question that I feel is something we need to actually begin to look more into. You know, aside from the women, the general women who are not within this category. But before I even delve into this question, I would like to share some perspective as a man. You know, because we are actually looking at the world of women and how well they have been um, perceived, you know, in the workplace environment. If you look at it very well, for example, in the decades, many years past, for centuries, for example, now, I know that the women have really made a progressive efforts in terms of making their voice heard, in terms of proving that they are highly intelligent, they are capable and competent beings, you know, being able to contribute effortlessly to organizations' development. A lot has really been put in place, actually. But we also need to remember how it has been in the past, because for women to continue to face significant barriers and challenges, it is actually boiled down to one singular fact, which is that workplace generally was created for men. Yes, it was created for men. That's the perception, that's the mindset, that's the default setting, you know, that it has been created that way in the professional world. You know, so many workplaces, you will notice that they are highly male dominated, particularly in leadership roles, you know, and this has really created that exclusionary or unsupportive culture for women. Sincerely. Raise them into the workplace and everything. Because in all sincerity, there are lots of buckets. There are lots of buckets that have actually informed us of how women are not really being appreciated in the space. For example, I would like to talk about leadership. In terms of leadership, if you look at the percentage of women in executive level, senior role level, even board level, that percentage is really, really small. You know, and we need to encourage women because they are capable. They can actually do better in all these levels. Then even if you should look at the pay levels too, salary, payment and all those stuff, gradation, you will notice that many organizations have that bias for men because they perceive that men are the ones that will cater for the family. They are more like the breadwinner and that and that. But hey, it is wrong. That's a wrong mindset and it's a subtle mindset. And there are other things we can look at, when women are actually pregnant at workplace, the kind of biasness they have concerning them, and even all these other things I would not like to mention, like sexual harassment and all those stuff. So there are a lot of things that have really created gender discrimination from inception. And that's why I really appreciated this program because we have to consistently create that initiative, or how do I want to put it? That sensitization of people out there to understand that women are really important, in our workplaces. Now, to that question, inclusion of women with visible and invisible disabilities, if I'm correct. For me, I will speak from an HR angle. I'll speak from an HR angle. For a workplace setting, one of the critical vision of the organization. Does the organization even, does the organization come to understand the need for women inclusion in their day-to-day activities? That's the number one thing. See, if an organization does not see that vision, then definitely nothing will happen. And it starts from the leadership. So does an organization even have that as part of their comprehensive strategy per year? Because every strategy changes per year. So for each year, what is their strategy for women? Do they even have statistics to see the impact of women in the organization? Do they even have statistics data to prove the performance impact of women in the system? So for women with visible and invisible disabilities, one of the things we need to get right is the corporate strategy. That must actually appreciate and embrace the inclusion of women with invisible and visible disabilities. So it's from an HR angle, we need to talk about the recruitment process, the hiring and the recruitment process, because the only way someone can join an organization is through that channel. And that channel is not about how it is being done. I mean, it's not about the end result, but how that process is being done, how it's being carried out. And my CEO always talks so much about that. It's not about the end result, it is how you get to the end result that matters. So we need to look at the recruitment process. And in the past, we've seen instances whereby they will make job posts, and of course, you will know that this is a biased job description or a biased job posting, whereby it won't even give room for people. I mean, for people to even perceive that okay, women are capable for this role. Let alone those that are now even have women that have visible and invisible disabilities. So we need to look at that. What is the current status quo for the recruitment process? If that is not actually inclusive, how best can we actually include that? Then number two, the interview process. We have to eliminate every form of bias. Instead, we should focus objectively more on their capacity, their competence. And I like what you mentioned. We have a lot of them that are capable. We have a lot of them that are highly intelligent. I've worked with many women. In fact, I prefer to work with ladies because I have come to understand that their own way of thinking is, I don't know how to put it, is very, very divergent compared to men that we are these straightforward thinkers. Yes, for women, I'm not saying women are not actually good at that, but women, they are divergent in many ways of thinking. So we need to look at that in such a way that the interview process should be able to accommodate them. Then the hiring managers that are going to be involved in that process, we need to help them understand, how do I want to put it, disability etiquette. So that when you are engaging them during that process, you don't make them feel, outside the world or somehow, uncomfortable. That is one of the things I perceive that we need to actually put into consideration. Another thing I would like to also talk about is accessibility to facilities and tools. So if we have them in place, we need to make sure that we create those work tools. Wheelchair, there are different forms, but I'm just using that as an example. For example, now, how are you going to make their workplace? You get the tools they're going to use. How are you going to, you have to provide the right technology. You have to provide the customized equipment that they will actually make use of. Thirdly, we also need to talk about policies, work policies. Policies are what creates the culture. We must have accommodating work policies in place, policies that are flexible, that gives flexible work arrangements like remote option. So for women with disability, it's not every time they should come to work. Create that structure, put that structure in place that will give them that flexibility to work from home, to adjust their schedules. All those things we need to actually look into it. And lastly, I would also like to talk about benefits and support services. We must come up with uh, compensation and benefit structures for them, something that will rewarding, something that will motivate them to do better on their job, something that will help them, to feel among, for example, HMO, give them that role for HMO group life, and maybe when they do one tax or the other, what are the benefits? So these are the things I feel we can actually put in place to help them to be inclusive in that workplace system. There's a lot I would have loved to share, but I'm just considering time, but these are a few points of mine. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much. That was so insightful. And yes, there is so much. I have so many more questions, but our time is up, unfortunately. And because we are the first, we have to, give room for other people to join in. But I hope everybody on this call has learned something. I mean, I'm blown away. And I just want to reiterate that we need, yes, Aderisola, I agree. We need to bring Mr. Michael again. He's our ally. Yes, yes, yes. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you so much. We acknowledge women are human beings. There is nothing less than about them. And including them in the work environment is for our own good. It's for the progress of humanity. I saw a reel on International Women's Day about what the world would be like if women and their inventions did not exist. I promise you, all your favorite things in the world were invented by women. And that's just how important the way we think is, our contribution to humanity is. And I love what you said about what the organization does. Ultimately, and the reason why we're having this conversation is you may not be CEO, you may not be HR in your own organization, but you work in a place, right? And I believe that humans are carriers of influence. If the value matters to you, you push it wherever you are. So like Kadwama mentioned, Google takes inclusion seriously. You see it in how they employ people, you see it in their products. Most of the things you enjoy, Google Map, it was an accessibility tool created to help people. So we need to internalize inclusion and make sure whatever room we step in, we're advocating for it, we are pushing for it. It's not enough to be the only woman in the room. You have to make room for other women to join you at the table. It's not enough for you to have access to top managerial roles. You have to create a system that other women can come behind you. And we need men like you because again, the corporate world is created, is the environment is a man's world. So a woman needs an ally who will speak for her, really, advocate for her on her behalf. Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask this last question to everybody, then we will wrap up. And the question is, beyond creating an environment that is inclusive, how do you think we can sustain it? 30 seconds, please, everybody. Quickly, 30 seconds. We have created an inclusive environment. Now we've talked about it, you've advocated, you've pushed for it. How do we sustain it? Because sustainability is what makes any move important, is what has made different things stand the test of time. So I'm going to take it from the top, from Chinemerem, then Kadwama, and then Mr. Michael. Thank you.
Okay, Okay, thank you so much, Bali, for that question. For me, just to in brief, I would say for each person, in whichever role you are, in whatever position, I would encourage that you lead by example through inclusive behavior and decision making. In my corner of desk and where I am, how do I lead by having that inclusive behavior? When I get into a place and there's no lady there, or maybe when they are making decision on who should go on a travel for a training and all of that. And then I heard that the excuse why some women are being excluded is because she has a baby, she might not be able to travel, or she might not be able to deliver on such assignment. So my duty when I find myself in that room to is actually to lead by an inclusive behavior to ensure that this women, I mean, you're sidelighting them because of those issues, but then you can, on the other way, you can actually make provisions for them to be able to future in such training or participate in such program. So I think my call to action, or what I would say how we can sustain this, is that wherever you are, in whichever position, lead by example, and the example is inclusive behavior in your speech, in your decision. If you find yourself in a decision making table, please speak up for your fellow women, because you too. I mean, at this moment, I'm not married, I don't have kids, but I know that sometime I would have kids and I'll be married, and someone will be in that position to say, "Oh no, she might not be able to do this." So if we can start now to start creating that narrative that don't sideline these women or the female gender, but rather create the environment to let them participate fully. So that's it for me. Thank you, Bali.
Thank you so much, Chinamaram. Thank you. That was holistic. So we'll go quickly to Padwarma, Deborah, your thoughts, and then Mr. Michael.
Why are you calling me?
Hello. Yes, please. Kadwama, are you here? If she's not here and Mr. Michael is, you can answer the question and then we'll take it.
All
Anybody who
right,
has
okay.
questions, if you can just type it in the chat box, we'll address it at the end of every session because we're out of time.
All right, so thank you for that question. Sustainability is very important. One of the things that have killed many businesses in Nigeria, I'm just using that as an example, is yeah, they can create many structures, many buildings, whatsoever, erect a lot of things, but that sustainability culture is missing. And that's why I say that a lot of businesses, their lifespan does not last for so long before it's actually a root of. So yes, if successfully we are able to put that structure in place, one of the first thing I think we need to put into consideration in terms of their ego. They like massaging their ego. They know a lot of things they are benefiting from the minorities, in their so-called word, So leadership accountability is very important. Leaders must come to agree that this is what they want to do, and they must be accountable for it. And I like what the other speaker mentioned, you must lead by example. It is very important. You must lead by example. In fact, for me, part of the things I will look into is for all those women that even if they are not in a leadership position, but they are under a supervisor or whatever, tie that supervisor's performance, tie it to their own performance. Let them come up with metrics that can help them to groom themselves, to have that visibility. So for me, leadership accountability is important because when leaders are held accountable, that will really have a long way to go. Then another thing we can do to sustain this, because soldier go, barrack stays. What do I mean? The envisioners, the people that are there, they can come up with a lot of things, and then over time they'll move. Someone else will take over that position. So that cultural reinforcement structure must be put in place. We must have that cultural reinforcement. We can have trainings, we can have sensitization, we can have maybe during the assembly, maybe Monday meetings, reiterate those information that can help people be aware about the inclusiveness of women, in their day-to-day activities and whatsoever. Then another thing I also like to mention is from the HR perspective, come up with employee engagement structures, that can give that inclusiveness, and even those that are under the DEI, I mean those with disability, come up with, those structures that can help them to be involved. And your policies, you must consistently monitor it and evaluate it. Consistently do that. And lastly, I would like to talk about intentionality of female leadership cultivation. You must be intentional about it. Intentionality about them, even sponsor them, mentor them, groom them into the executive pipeline. So I think that's all I can say at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think Kadwama has dropped hers in the chat box. She said we should ensure these advocacy is adopted as policies in organizations. It just ties to everything you said. So you lead by example, you are intentional about it, you try to create policies around it, everything, it just ties down. And thank you so, so much. I had a great time. I hope you did too. This conversation was insightful as it was exciting. And we hope to see you, all of you, back again when we have something else to do. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please just type them in the chat box. We'll get to it at the end of the session. Remember that you are carriers of inclusion and advocacy, and if it matters to you, it should matter to your organization. Your values are yours, and you should portray them in the world the best way you can. Thank you so much. And now I am going to hand over the reins to our next panelist, and I want you to join me and welcome Oyindamola as she leads the Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling session. Sit tight and get ready for even more fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bali. If not for time, we really didn't want the initial session to end. But thank you to all of the panelists. And my name is Uyi, and I'll be facilitating this session on breaking through the glass ceiling. So we have heard everything. We've heard that women should be included. We've heard about everything, but we are done with taking the bare minimum. Yeah. It's not enough that you employ women. It's not enough that you have a quota. It's not enough that that when you want to employ 100 people, you say 50 must be women and 50 must be men. The question is, how do we get to seats on the 7th floor? How do we break through the glass ceiling? I think we've pushed enough. Well, I would not say enough, right? We keep pushing for we to include women. I think that message is sinking in. We are saying quota, the quota system. But it's beyond that for women. Now we want more. Yeah, we are Oliver Twist. And I don't think we are asking for too much. So this next section, we are going to be talking about breaking through the glass ceiling. And I have the honor to have two wonderful people. It was supposed to be three. One of our panelists is currently in transit, so we know how the internet situation is. So Onyade would not be able to join us, but we are still in very good hands. Join me as I welcome to the stage Evangeline Katumi. So because of time, I would allow all of the panelists to introduce themselves briefly before we start. And Emmanuel Faith. Yeah, we have men in the house. We have another man in the house. So Emmanuel Faith and Evangeline, please put on your camera so we can see you and welcome you to the stage. I do not. Okay. Hi, Evangeline. I see you. I think I would need to and Emmanuel Faith. Okay. That's yeah, it's a double E in the house. Yeah. So I think I'll just spotlight you so that I can we can see you. All right. Moving forward, ladies first. So Evangeline, please introduce yourself to the house. Briefly, please.
Thank you. Of course, I'll be brief because of time. As you've mentioned, my name is Evangeline. I am a finance administrator and data management department lead. I basically help organizations make sound decisions or financial decisions using data. So I'm a data person, simple as that.
Very important. Yeah, Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Product stuff, and I'm trying to. Sorry, I didn't even know I was on mute. Okay, so I do not trust my network enough to switch on my video. I am just gonna like try, and if it flutters, I'm gonna switch it on. Okay, yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Emmanuel Faith. What do I do? I'm a people leader, a talent manager, and of course an SDG5 advocate. I love everything women. That's what my friends say. I believe in equality. I think that we have a long way to go when it comes to achieving cross-functional, cross-competence, and just all other form of inequality, that exists and bridging those inequalities. If you go through my LinkedIn, I've written like a couple academic papers and a couple LinkedIn articles on just things that we can do to bridge gender inequality. I have also been a guest, a co-panelist, at BBC, just discussing BBC London specifically, just discussing just strategies way to bridge gender inequality. I am most active in sports because I really love sports and I am very focused on women football. So if you go through my Twitter page, if I'm not talking HR, I'm probably discussing women football. I guest write for 2 foreign blogs, one in UK, one in Australia, where I'm pretty focused on telling African women footballers story to the world. Yeah, that's me in a jiffy.
Definitely, we're in very good hands. I'm very happy to have both of you on our panel session today. So I'll just go straight to the point. Eva, in your experience, what would you say has been most important, right, in overcoming the barriers in your career path? So you could let us know, what do you think the most important factor has been as you overcame careers in your career path to become a data lead? So would you say it's the mindset? Would you say it's something you have to do? What do you think is that most important thing that every woman should hold as they aim to reach the C-suite?
Thank you. In my experience, and when I say in my experience, I'm talking about my personal experience. I think it's emotional intelligence because, when you most of the times listen to people talking about why women are not able to be great leaders and be great people in this Africa, is because they say women are emotional beings. When they make decisions, they don't make decisions based on logic, they make decisions based on emotions. So I took that as my personal initiative to make emotional intelligence the main thing that I should focus on. So I believe emotional intelligence will help women excel, right? Why? Because I don't know, I can hear like you're not hearing me. So emotional intelligence encompasses self-awareness. It helps in self-regulation and empathy and social skills, and it plays a significant role in navigating workplace dynamics and building relationships. So women who excel in emotional intelligence are better equipped to handle challenges, resolve conflict, and collaborate effectively with others. So in my personal experience, I made emotional intelligence my tool that I use to negotiate and to interact with the others. The other thing is effective communication skills, including the ability to articulate ideas and influence others and build rapport with, and which are essential for advancing in one's career. So women should focus in developing clear and persuasive communication abilities to effectively convey their expertise and vision. And I believe also strategic networking has really also helped me. And I think also other women who have been up there can agree with me that strategic networking, which is building and leveraging professional networks, is really, really crucial for career advancement. And women should focus on cultivating relationships which are influential, and with influential individuals as well, seeking out mentors, seeking out sponsors, and actively participating in networking events. And the other thing is assertiveness and advocacy. It's good to always speak up for your fellow women and also to speak up for yourself. And Maya Angelou at some point said that each time a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. So I have found myself in situations where I am the only female in the room, but I have to speak up. And when I speak up, I know definitely I'm speaking up for every person in the room. And those are some of the things that have really helped me to thrive and be up to where I am today. And I keep reminding myself of a quote from Claire Booth that because I am a woman, I must make it and I must put in unusual efforts. Why? Because if I fail, no one will say that she doesn't have what it takes. They will say that women do not have what it takes. Back to you, the facilitator.
That was sound, like that was like a mic drop moment, and it's very important. It's almost like you captured very important, very necessary things that many women feel at. We've seen so many situations where men are recommended. You'd see a man would recommend his fellow guy for this role, and then we women sit back and be like, I have what it takes. I'm probably even more qualified than this person. So the importance of networking is very important. As women, we should network. There's the general notion that women do not like each other, and we need to break that notion. We need to help each other. We need to hold each other's hands. And I know when we talk about building network, many of us want to build network with men because we think men are the only ones able to help us. But it is beyond building a network with men. It is even as fellow women in sessions like this, networking programs. How are you able to help your fellow man? And I think another thing is it's not just looking for people to help us. We should also position ourselves as being able to help other women. Thank you very much, Evangeline. So Mr. Emmanuel or Emmanuel, right? Faith. My question to you would be, in your experience, all right? We know that there are women in top positions. It's not like it's a 0% of women in top position, but what we know is that it's the percentage of women to women is zero. Sorry, is almost zero, right? Because like 0.001 or something. So my question to you would be, what do you think has set those women, right? Because you're an HR person, you probably had to interview women or been part of women's process, women who sit in those top positions. What would you say has really set those women apart that you considered them good enough to sit on those tables?
Yeah, I. Okay, yeah, so if I understand your question, you are asking what has set the very few 7% of C-suite people versus the rest, what has set them apart? Is
C-suite
that the
women,
question?
actually. C-suite
Yeah.
women.
Yeah. Okay, I understand you. I'd say it's an aggregation of a lot of things. One, of course, is like the sheer will to succeed. I have a couple friends across different industries that if they like reach C-suite, of their diverse organizations in like 5 years, I won't be surprised just because of the sheer level of diligence and corporate awareness, that's the word, corporate awareness and soft skills and interpersonal skills and just the aggregation of different elements that they have been able to incorporate into their journey so far. So it's not one thing, it's a lot of things. There is, of course, the sheer willingness, and the diligence to put in the work. I have a friend right now who is looking to get called to buy in like UK, US, and Canada. I'm like, she's already like a certified lawyer in Nigeria. I think she's done with UK already. She's done Canada already, and she's now working, in New York. And I said, oh, why? Why do you want to get certified in 4 different regions? She said, so that nobody will have any excuse for not promoting me. I can do deals across these 4 regions. So she's right now like a senior associate, and she just started work like 3 years ago. So there's that. There's the sheer willingness, there's the diligence, but there's also like support system, right? And I think that this is why this kind of conversations is very important. I have like studied a couple leaders. One that easily comes to mind is what's the name? Her name is Dukwe. I do not know her surname. She's the CEO of Transcorp. Yeah. So I know that like at Transcorp, yeah. Is my voice echoing? It's someone else on mute.
I think we need to mute someone on the call. Please let's
Okay.
mute.
Okay, then. So, like, I know that Transcorp, they have like very structured internal mentorship programs, that make provisions just for, yeah, Dupe Olushola, thank you so much. Yeah, just for people to have like an upward trajectory as far as their career is concerned. So they bring in people at entry level, either it's graduate training or whatever program it is. And as people are getting promoted just based on skills and merits, they're also deliberately teaching them, corporate governance. They are teaching them how to speak in the boardroom. They are teaching, there's a lot of corporate etiquette that women do not have. I'm sorry, right? So they are deliberately teaching them all this. And just this presence, this implementation of systems and processes and support that gives the woman extra edge that men naturally just have from experience. For example, like when I'm dealing with negotiation, right? Men just know how to negotiate, right? And women don't. Women, when if a role is like say 1 million naira per month, right? You see a woman coming in to earn like ask for 600K, and you see a guy coming to say, oh, I want to earn 1.5 to 2M for that role, right? This thing are cultural nuances, so it's very important that there are systems and processes to nullify those cultural nuances and just equip ladies or women with the right mindset. And that's like one important part of what I've seen for women, those small 7% that make it to the top. Let me stop there.
Yeah, yes, I would need to do a rider on this question for you. So you said there are lots of corporate etiquettes that you, like in your role, I've noticed that women do not have. For the sake of everybody, because this is a session all of us are supposed to take something out of, right? So it would be nice if you can just give us a list of what these things are. So this is for personal reflection, all of us on this call, so that we take it back and see, measure how we do and how we can get better, because every lady needs to get out of here better than they joined the call. So just give us a list of some of those corporate etiquettes that you have seen women not to have and that we need to build on to achieve CISOs.
Okay, can you hear me? Am I audible? You could just wave or say something in the
Yes,
chat
yes,
box.
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So I think I'm just gonna mention like three or four. I already start with negotiation. If you're my friend or you're around me or you've listened to like a class I taught before, a huge thing. I think there's even like a video I did with Sisterly HQ. Maybe I will link it at the end of my panel. A huge thing I'm always speaking to women about is ask for your money, like ask for your worth, ask your coins, like be very, very bold when it comes to negotiation. Ask for this money because there is money on the table. The second, of course, is audacity. So if you are a mid-level manager, I mean, for entry level, this might not matter a lot, but if you're like a mid-level manager, and because I've spent like the last 4 or 5 years in tech, this is like a trend I've noticed. Mid-level manager means like maybe product marketing manager, content marketing manager. There's just some sort of managerial duties attached to you. Those roles are not just titles, they are actually given to you to be able to make strategic decisions. One, push back when necessary. So because you are a lady, right? You are in a tech company, and at the mid-level management, there are like six of you, but you are the only lady because the lead engineer is of course a guy. The lead designer is probably a guy too. Back-end engineer is a guy, front-end engineer is a guy. So you are the product manager. Luckily, thanks to Treford and all those brands, you have been able to build your career. So you're now a product manager and you're a woman. And the back-end engineer, you say, this is that we can get this out in 1 week. You should be able to push back to say, I'm sorry, you're not going to get this out in 1 week because I need to write the PLD. I need to, speak to the growth team to see if they can be able to work on this. Women need to learn to push back, in the workplace. That audacity, to push back, to make your stance known, to ensure that your male colleagues are not forcing these things on you. And trust me, they are not being wicked. Like they are not saying, hey, I, Bali, I'm going to show you wickedness today. No, it is just men's character to be audacious, to want to dominate, to exude some domineering ability. So it is your duty to say, hey, you cannot dominate me. There is no passive aggressiveness going on here. You are going to listen to me because this is my competence. This is my field. I did not get here because, I am a riffraff. I got here because I deserve to be here. So it's very important. Yes, please drink 3 cups of audacity in the morning. So I've talked about confidence in negotiation. I've talked about audacity. The third one is like be deliberate about learning and development, right? Like again, from experience as a talent manager, I have seen guys come to ask for non-monetary benefits more than ladies, right? And in the real sense, I mean, like the former panel talked about, women probably need a lot more non-monetary benefits, policies that helps them do their best work than men. But no, it is men that come to ask. It is men that come to say, hey, I need you to sponsor this training. It's $2,000. Hey, International Men's Day is coming. What are you doing for us? You did this for women. What are you doing for us too? In my 3-4 years of planning employee engagement, women has never come to ask me what we are doing for International Women's Day. No, it is men that will come to ask that. Yes, you did this for women in March. November is coming. We don't want to hear story, right? So, that proactiveness, that's the word. That proactiveness to be deliberate about your development. I have a senior colleague that says, take everything the organization has in store for you. A lot of people do not even know that your company has learning budget for them, right? So your company as a senior manager, again, I use managers because like at my level right now, I manage a lot of managers, right? So this even concerns if you're an entry level. So you don't even know that you have like a learning and development budgets in your company, but they've earmarked $500 to say you have $500 access to take courses on Treford. So I'm using Treford a lot because they are my friends. Coursera, Udemy, whatever platform it is. But the $500 is sitting there because you have not asked, right? So ask for learning and development trainings. And then lastly is access. So if you're, and this is for entry level guys, if you are like an entry level person and your manager is sort of nice and friendly, ask for access. Ask him to introduce you to someone you are looking up to. For example, you work with Leap Africa and then your senior manager is someone very influential in the tech space and the person knows the CEO of Shotless, who is a female, and the CEO of, let me look for another company, Economy, who is also a female, or the CEO of Money Africa, who is a female. Ask, please, can you introduce me to Tosin? Please, I want to have a 30-minute chat with Tosin because listening to people that have gone ahead of you and just sharing practical, I can't talk a lot, but so if Tosiola Sayinde was the one here, she would probably share a lot more, than I will share. My colleague will probably be able to speak to women-related things more because I am experiencing it from a third person or second person view, but she is experiencing it real time because she's a woman. So I mentioned 4 things: negotiation, audacity when it comes to pushing back at work, and also making your stance known, right? Ability to push back to ensure that men do not put pressure on you, and then that proactiveness to maximize whatever benefits there is for you. I think I should stop there.
Sincerely, I have so many follow-up questions, but there's no time. And Darren, we need to bring Emmanuel Faith back. If you agree with me, please just signify in the comment section because there is so much to do. I have never used my training budget. Okay, I think I've used it just once. And it was practically forced on me to go for that training. And I know that I do have training budgets. Anyways, thank you very much, Emmanuel. And trust me, we would reach out. We would reach out. So my final question will go to Eva. Eva, sorry, I'm trying to see if you're still on the call. Yeah, Eva, if you're here, please let me know. Okay, yes, I see you. I see
Yes,
you.
she is.
Yes, I
I don't know if her network is present, but she is.
Yeah, thank you. So, Eva, final question to you would be, in your role, right? I know you've mentioned things like women should make provision for other women. Can you give us like practical examples of ways that women can open the door for other women once they have reached that level, like practical things, examples of things that women can do? So we know we have to advocate for other women coming up behind us, but in what ways can we do that without seeming like we are quote and unquote, it's not like there's anything wrong with being a feminist, but okay, let me say being angry feminist or seeming like we just like to fight, right? You talked about emotional intelligence. So in what ways and examples can we open the doors for other women coming behind us?
Right. One of them, as I mentioned, is mentorship and sponsorship. Women can support development and advancement of other women by serving as mentors and sponsors. Women who have been there before us, I'm saying before us because I know majority of us in this panel are young women, but there are women who have been there in those positions, high positions of leadership before us, and they know the techniques and they know the route, they know the challenges, they know how to navigate and maneuver through the way. So if these women offer to mentor us or sponsor us, definitely we'd also get there. So one of the practical ways is to have young women paired to mentors who are women who have already achieved these goals in the organizations. And the other way is to educate and train young women. We can have forums in our organizations where we train and educate young women on the best way to maneuver and create more awareness, you know, and by promoting understanding and awareness that women can create a more inclusive workplace, right? And the other thing that I need to mention before I leave is advocacy and representation, which I think I also mentioned. And a practical way of doing that, especially when it comes to negotiations, which Emmanuel was talking about, is imagine of a woman leader who is on top and has faced challenges about when it comes to negotiating for getting promotions or salary increase, and come up with a policy that we need to be having salary negotiations for women specifically after every 6 months. We need to listen to these women because sometimes we need to go for them. You know they need them, but they don't want to come. It's a women problem, and make it a policy that every 6 months we'll be reviewing performance and we'll be evaluating performance of these women. And if someone has performed well, then they deserve a raise. You go back to, did they ask for it? Do they deserve it? So such are the policies that we need women to come and support us.
All right, thank you very much, Eva. It's been a very exciting, enlightening session for every woman on this call and even men as our allies. I think women, I know they call us the managers. I think that thing is just used to like tie our hands. Yeah, we are good managers. We want to help the organization save money. We want to help the organization manage itself even more than it wants to be managed. So let's ask for the money. It is on the table. Let us negotiate. Let us ask for our training allowances and our training budgets and everything. We see men when they are traveling. I remember I see the guts of men when they ask. Men ask for anything. If you are traveling in the office, a man would ask that you come pick him up from the house. The woman would probably tell you, don't worry, I'll find my way to the office, or my husband will bring me to the office, or we want to find a way to help the company manage, but it is not in our position, and we will keep feeling bad while we see men taking all of the advantages. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you, Eva. This was very enlightening, and we look forward to more opportunities to learn from both of you. So at this time, I'll be handing over to Clementina, who will be taking us through the third session on addressing gender bias and stereotypes in entrepreneurship. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Oyi. Thank you. Okay, so before I carry on with my session, I had to join with two devices. So let me just leave on one. Okay, so I think we're all set. You can hear me clearly. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you.
We can get started. No one is responding. Does that mean no one is here?
I can hear you, Clementina.
Hi, Clementina.
I didn't hear that. Who was speaking?
Yes, so we can hear you. We can hear you, Clementina, but the feedback is quite slow, but we can hear you. Yeah. Hi,
Okay, so
Clementina.
I think Clementina's internet is really bad, and we would not want to keep everybody on this call. So yeah, let me just come in as women supporting women that we always are, and introduce our panel, third panel session. It's a very large one and a very interesting one. So join me, ladies and gentlemen, in our midst as I welcome the panelists of our third session. Yeah. So as usual, we would allow them introduce themselves when they come in. So I'll just mention their name. So the very first person we have on our panel today is Yushet. Yushet, you can turn on your camera or say hello, just wave to us or something. And the other lady on our panel.
Hello, lady. Oh, okay.
All right.
Someone speaking. I'm back. And I'm so thankful. Network has been interesting, and it appears it's not everywhere you go, so we're led to believe. So I'm back, and I sincerely apologize for that. So I'm Clementina Oreako. I am a nutritionist by profession.
Hi, Mindamala. Can you please take up this session? I think that.
Oh yes, I would. So you could please call Clementina so she's aligned on this.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. So you can see we have 4 amazing women on this panel. I think this is the highest number of panel, and that's why we saved the best for the last. We'll be hearing from ourselves a whole lot, and we also have our allies in the room. We'll be hearing from our own points of view also. So the second person on our panel is Aderin Sola. Aderin Sola, you could just hello to us. We also have Deborah Obas. Hello, Aderin Sola. Deborah on this panel. Deborah, hello.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi, Deborah. And we have Omolade. I've actually not seen her, and I'm just checking to be sure she's here. Hi, Omolade. If you are here, please say hello. I know the internet. Oh, yeah, I see you.
Hi, okay.
Beautiful hair. Yeah, we see the signature here. All right. All right. Thanks, ladies, for joining us today. And the topic for today, because inclusion is not just including women. We know there are very many buckets of women. We have women in corporate leadership. We have women in entrepreneurship. And so this session is dedicated to women in entrepreneurship. And whether we are active business people or not, this is also talking about the way we relate with this woman, right? Even as human beings, whether male or woman, and how we interact with them in a very different roles. So I see Clementina is back, and I'll just allow her start with asking the questions. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much, Oni. Please confirm you can still hear me.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is you see my face on my laptop, and then I will speak through my phone because we can't trust network. Yes. So thank you, Oni. Again, I was saying that we'll be looking at addressing gender bias and stereotypes in entrepreneurship. As we all know, entrepreneurship involves setting up a business or businesses and taking on financial risks, doing financial activities or any other activity really. Sometimes for profits and other times maybe not for profits, but there are a lot of activities involved in entrepreneurship, and it is a big deal because businesses, economies are built through some of these entrepreneurship activities. So today, I will be joined by amazing, amazing women who are doing great things in their own sphere of influence, in their own sectors. They are pushing barriers and they are making great strides every day. So the first person will be Deborah Obasi. Hello, Deborah, and welcome. Welcome. Second person, thank you, Yilchit Bade. And the third person will be Aderisola Amobi Daniel. The last person, of course, will be Omolade Adeniluyi. Thank you all so much, ladies. I hope we're all here. I can see 3 people.
Yes, I think we are.
Okay. Oh, yes, we are complete. I'm very excited for this session. So I'll start with Deborah. I see a lot of the things you're doing. So before you go on to answer my questions very quickly, please give us a very brief introduction of yourself.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone again. I'm Deborah. I think I'm a natural strategic alliance. So I matchmake organizations together to create impact. So I'm a partnership executive in Aspire Condition Trust Foundation. Yeah. Aside that, I also either implement development projects on SDG 4 and SDG 8. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. A matchmaker for impact. I like that. I like the sound of that. So moving on to Yilchit, please a very short introduction. Thank you.
Hello, ladies, and good evening, good afternoon to our allies. I'm Yilchit Berde. I'm a child support and advocate. Let me not use the word enthusiast, because then again, we women love to downplay ourselves. I'm a child support advocate, child rights and protection advocate. That has led me into running a charity organization, which we've been able to clamor for support and pushed organizations like MTN Foundation and Sanlam to bring in their CSR through us. And so far, we've been able to cater to the physical needs of vulnerable children in orphanages and IDP camps. And aside that, I'm also an entrepreneur, a self-employed pastry chef. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm also a self-employed pastry chef. I cater to all sorts of events. So that's basically what I do.
Thank you, Yilchit. Thank you. And yes, what you do is very important. I'm very interested in the pastry side. Please send some to me. Yes, I am. Okay, we'll move right on to Aderisola. Very short intro, and then Omolade. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Clementina. Hello, everybody. And welcome to our panel session. My name is Aderisola Amobi Daniel, just as Clementina mentioned. And just briefly about me is I'm the programs coordinator at the Leadership Institute. And what that means is that I'm in charge of coordinating all the programs that we have as an institute. Also, I think very dear to my heart is issues pertaining to women, and it's on gender equity, basically on what do we do to accelerate women development. That's why leadership accelerator program that we just concluded was really one of the dear projects. And just before the LLI, the Leadership Institute, and also worked at different women-led organizations, basically to ensure that women are being accelerated into positions that they need to be accelerated into, whether it's the 9 to 5 or it's the entrepreneurship side, or even if it's just even the political spec. And so basically that's like, a brief into what I do. And it's nice to see all of you.
Thank you, Aderisola. And yes, we know the super amazing Aderisola who made our boot camp very, very memorable. So we'll move on to Omolade.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Oh, it's still morning. Good morning. Thank you, Clementina, and thank you, everyone. So my name is Omolade Ademini, Programs Manager at WILAN. So my work really is about advocating for women's leadership across different sectors. I have designed and organized, implemented programs for women in politics, women in healthcare, really just to help them, achieve leadership or attain leadership positions. And then if you ever seen the Leading Woman show, like that's one of my babies working on that project. And also I have my own initiative that I'm running for young girls across different secondary schools. I'm using my book that I wrote to go on a book tour. I've gone to Lagos, Ekiti, and Abuja, and I'm also like currently doing that and touring the north, and just empowering these girls with leadership skills. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Omalade, and welcome, ladies, to our panel session. So we'll get right into it. Deborah, this question is for you. How would you, in your experience, define bias, gender bias or stereotypes that you've encountered? And what are common examples that you can tell us about?
Okay, thanks so much for the question. So I'd like to make my definition a bit relatable. So I'll be using a scenario, which is the garden. So in a garden, we have blooming plants, blooming flowers, and we have unwanted weeds.
Hello, Deborah. Are you still there? I think she's having a little bit of a network glitch. Okay, so perhaps we'll go on to the next person, and then when she comes back, she can continue with her answer. Okay, so your chicks, right? I like what you during your introduction, you said a lot about advocacy, and I know about the Keep a Child Warm initiative. Now, would you say advocacy and education, plays a huge role? Right? What kind of role do you think it plays in ensuring that we can foster, an environment of inclusion for women, especially women entrepreneurs? Your chicks, over to you.
Yeah, well, so advocacy can start in the very little ways. It can start in the very little ways. No one has to carry a placard. Maybe you would want to if it gets to that, but in the little everyday actions, all right, in your conduct, in your actions or inactions, you can advocate and make awareness for inclusion of women. You can start any cadre of women, whether women, young girls, teenage girls, it's just in the little day-to-day things, like come back to the home front, allowing the girls in the house do all the chores where there are boys who are equally capable to do that, would be sending a strong message. So that's your inaction when it comes to advocacy. So encouraging a man to learn chores as a life skill and not because it's a gender role is your own little way. So it's basically in the little things, sending boys on errands like buying, fixing the car or doing things, and then
Okay, so I think your chip has been disconnected. Okay, so but Deborah is back, so that's good news. So Deborah, can you please go on with your
Yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I apologize for the network disruption. So like I said, so subconsciously, unnoticed, we encourage these biases within ourselves. We embrace them. So if there's something I would like to address is we as women checkmating our own biases, because we necessarily cannot just be complaining about receiving hostile biases from the opposite sex or people when within ourselves we've not corrected it. So if we could checkmate these biases within ourselves, it will play a huge role in knowing how to put a stop to stereotyping and also people coming to us and throwing shades at us. We also know how to not just putting a stop, learning how to correct them in positive ways so that we can all keep championing for inclusion and diversity. So making reference to the guardian scenario I used, it hinders growth and stifles potential. So I would like to make a reference to a lady that works in a garden. And because they see her as a lady, they do not think she's fit for some kind of roles as a leader, or some kind of positions as a leader. So they give her a watering can to water these plants. Please quote me. In this watering can is labeled a male-dominated industry. So subconsciously, it has already affected her mindset, and sometimes has downplayed on her self-esteem. So when this watering can is handed to her, she's being reminded that this garden is not yours. Just do this work, and once you're done with this work, you go. So this woman takes this scenario as a part of her and passes it down to people close to her. So when she goes out to like engage with people or goes out to try to create an initiative, already she has not disrupted that innate bias in her that has told her that you can't do this. Nobody's going to listen to you. After all, you're just a watering can person, and there's nothing more that can come out from you. So for me, addressing it is disrupting or breaking down systemic barriers that has lingered on for women, breaking down these preconceived notions, this discriminative attitude that women has always enveloped around themselves. So if also bring it to business, we'll see that sometimes when some women want to pitch their ideas to an investor, because we will notice that most of these biases come in play when it's a funding project. So when they want to pitch the ideas to investors, it's always very hard for them because investors are throwing questions at them and ask questions like, so why should I give you this money when there's a male counterpart that can do this better than you? But I want to correct the notion as a finance speaker by saying that what a man can do, a woman can do better and triple and quadruple. Yes. So I want women to put on that slate of not always being tagged or as the less or looking like the less, because it all starts from our mindset. Once we can disrupt whatever negative biases we already have on us, we can kickstart or champion any initiative or any idea. So we should always be active players in not accommodating any narratives that anxiety, low self-esteem wants to accommodate in our mindsets. Whenever we want to have this kind of narratives, let's be reminded that it's just a line between building self-confidence and still shying away from it. So whenever we have that kind of mindset, let's always go to the side of self-confidence. Because trust me, if we really build our self-confidence, if we build our pillars so high, we'll be able to disrupt all the innate biases and we'll start to create like a bias-free mindset for ourselves. Yeah, so I think that's how we'll be able to address it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. What you've just said links right into the pervasiveness or the high incidence of imposter syndrome that women seem to have. Even when you get into some positions, you get into some rooms, you don't believe you're supposed to be there. So you're always second guessing your decisions. You're always trying to find faults in what you've done that is perfect ordinarily. So thank you so much, Deborah, for that response. So Yilchit, you were telling us about the roles that you think advocacy and education play in ensuring that we foster a very inclusive society for women entrepreneurs. Please go on.
Yes. Okay, so sorry about how I left abruptly. I was talking about gender roles, even back to the home, in our everyday activities, in our everyday life. So I was talking about, I think I stopped at where I was saying sending male children or the male in the house to run errands like changing the tire, going to see a mechanic and all that. It's not wrong if a lady or a girl is guided into doing that as well. So while you're teaching the men chores as life skill, you also teach the women the gender in quote chores that men are known to be doing as a life skill. So imagine putting on the generator. So if there's no male in the house, does it mean that the lady cannot survive on her own? She won't put on the generator until there's a male in the house. So these are basically life skills. And when it comes to every sector, it applies. It applies, right?
Hello, Yulchit. Are you still with us? Okay. So while we wait for her to come back and conclude, we can move on to the next speaker in the interest of time. So Aderisola, our amazing Aderisola, you are a part of an organization that is known for championing inclusion and making sure women are heard and seen, Leap Africa. So in your experience, what part do you think organizations such as yours and policymakers in general have to play to ensure that we don't just talk about these biases and stereotypes, but we actually do something about it, something impactful that can be measured? So what do you think their part in this is?
All right, thank you very much, Clementina. Can, by the note of it, just let me know you can still hear me. My network is acting up at the moment as well.
Yes,
just
I
by the
can
note of
still
it.
hear
Okay.
you.
All right, great. And so I just really wanted to share, before I move into what role an organizations play in order to ensure that, this gender bias is not, or stereotype are not placed. One of the things that I've also come to realize is that sometimes these bias are not there. They are, I'm trying to look for the right word. These bias are self-imposed bias that we have, even as women. For instance, you do something, you think that they are asking you to do this because they're a woman, and they'll probably just ask somebody else to do it. So take, for instance, you go into the meeting, and I'm not saying that this bias do not exist, but I'm saying that sometimes they are not as, I think the word that we use, the label that we use is not as deep as we see it. Just understanding that you show up, first of all, without the consciousness that you are a woman in the first place, and just really do it. Then when this bias begins to show, then you know what to do about it. I don't know if I was able to capture that right, but I just wanted to mention that at first. Now, what can organizations, a lot of times when people I think I'm going to lean on what, I think it was Shinigami that was speaking the other time, when she had said that it goes beyond just having 50 women and 50 men in the organization. And so sometimes, even in working on this fire, some of the things that organizations need to do is that we need to create awareness. There has got to be that awareness in the organization. There has got to be that education. So take, for instance, the Leap Africa. We have like champion roles. So beyond your day-to-day tasks or your roles that you're employed for, there is also what we call the champion roles, where you can then join into say, okay, I want to join the fun and engagement. I want to join this. One of the things that was added is the gender inclusion champion role. So these people are in charge of, are there gender policies that we need to put in place? Are there conversations that we need to start having as an organization? So the intentionality, I was speaking with someone the other time. So I don't know, I'll be in the buses or maybe I'm outside having conversations, and somebody say, "Oh, why are you shouting like a woman?" You don't even realize that that's a bias. A man can shout, a man can be angry, but then they're saying, "Oh, why you shout like a woman?" Or "Why are you talking too much like a woman?" Because subconsciously there is the aspect of this is the way a woman think. And funny thing is, I have had those conversations as well. And I asked my educator and say, "Hey, no, you don't say you shout like a woman. You shout like a family person." And that is not who a woman is. So that's education needs to be there. That awareness. We have to, just like for having, we have to have constant conversations about it. And we don't just want to leave it at the hands of outsiders having conversations, webinar conversations. We also need to have internal webinars. We need to talk about these things as an organization. Let's call men into the room and say, "Hey," and I know my colleagues do that sometimes. So we talk about, I think the last time we talked about gender equality, and it was amazing to hear even what guys thought about this. So those are the kind of conversations that we need to have. Also, there needs to be equitable access to resources. The resources that a woman has gets access to, and that a man gets access to, should be available for a woman. Organizations should understand. So don't say, "Oh, we're thinking of a woman heading a place in Kenya, for instance, and probably she's Nigerian." And the first thing is, the conversation we're having is that, "Oh, maybe she's not a good fit, perhaps because she's married and she has kids, so maybe she will not be able to go." Hey, I am also noted, because I remember when I was in university, The HOD of my department by then was a woman, and the way Unilag used to have it was there is an apartment for them in the school, and it was surprised that our husband would seem like a traditional man. And I asked her, I said, how are you able to make this work? And she specifically mentioned that she has an understanding husband or whatever it is. But then imagine that they had passed on that opportunity because they had felt she's a woman, she can't move into the school, so that wouldn't make sense. So we need to, understand that women should have equitable access to resources, that are available to men as well. Another part is that there has to be also that there needs to be that including women in decision-making process. It's funny that I read a research that talked about how women actually came up to say they do also want women in roles, in leadership roles. What does that mean? We need to start having ensuring that there is that aspect of
Hello, Ademisola. You're speaking, but I can't hear anything. I don't know if I'm the only one.
Oh, I got muted at some point. Sorry about that. So there also needs to be, the mentorship and support programs, just as Michael had mentioned earlier. Emmanuel had mentioned earlier. There needs to be that active mentorship. So if I'm in a role right now and I'm thinking of, I should be looking around, even within the organization, to see what other woman can replace me or can be mentored into other rooms. So just sort of like conversations that organizations need to start having. It's very, very important that we start having this conversation. And I'll just going to round this off with this because I know that we're really on time with this with our panel. And the conversation around ensuring that even as we're having this conversation with men, we're also having conversations with women. If women are saying that they do not think that women should be in leadership positions, that's another conversation that we need to have.
Yes, it is.
If the 30% in the workplace are saying that they are not comfortable with the few that are in the workplace to be their leaders, then there is something wrong. So these are conversations we're not just having with men, but with women as well. Let's break the glass ceiling. Let's even shatter the tables to talk about why as a woman wouldn't you want another woman to lead you? Those conversations are having them. So that's just it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aderisola. You have hit on this table you're shaking, Derry. This table you're shaking. Let's allow the table stand with one leg, right? So, but thank you for being so candid with your response. So when we're talking about policies and practices that you've seen that have been implemented to keep on fostering this, inclusive environment, do you know of any? Do you know of any you can share with us about policies, practices that, have been implemented and are currently successful?
Okay. Yes. So for practices and policies, I would say that what I know, for instance, I know that I've read. I think I'd read so much is the new. I can't remember what the position is.
Executive Director.
Thank you. Yeah, and she had mentioned how she had a conversation with Tony Lumelu, and how he had mentioned and congratulated her into that role, and she had specifically mentioned that they have a couple number of people as a couple number of women, more greater representation of women at their leadership board. So I would say that the policies that should be in place is equal. If we don't even say equal, we would say even greater amount of women in specific roles. So let me give you an instance. I remember that there is a program that Leap Africa runs, which is the Social Innovators program. And at the end of it, we get to choose who gets to be awarded for the funding. By the way, all the entrepreneurs in this room, this is me advertising to you for free. And when it opens, you should sign up. It's really a great program, and you get funding for those amazing ideas that you have. And I have remembered that our GOP came out and say, hey, what's going on? How many women do we have on this? This looks like there are more men here and we don't have enough women. So she insisted. So the kind of policies that we could bring up is we are naming the policy as higher representation of women in this role, there should be we should look out for specific quotas, specific quotas of women. So let's say I'm looking at a program of 100 people. I could say, you know what, that program is not going to move until I have like 50 women represented, or 60 women represented, or 40 women represented. So those are like sort of like policies that I think that we can put in place, or that organizations can put in place, or that I know that organizations are putting in place. I also know that some of the policies, they may look like they are minute. Okay, so they may look like they are minute. It's also the aspect in which celebrating women, International Women's Day. I think the Leap Africa took it to the hill. We had a potential. So those ways are the ways that we include women or even show policies. I don't want to take my time just so that all this can speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Derry. Thank you. And yes, Somachi is a really good example. We know of some organizations that have a lot of policies going on right now. But another thing is it's important that as social entrepreneurs or business people, we are also advocates of such inclusion and such visibility for women in our organizations. We champion it actively. Okay, so moving right on to Omolade, you haven't answered any of my questions, so it's your turn. Right, how do you think mentorship and networking, can help in these conversations we're having in ensuring that we actually bring it to pass? How do you think technology and networking, can play a role? And while you're answering that, also talking about technology, it is here to stay. It's not leaving anytime soon. We're in the jet age, and that's that. How do you think as women entrepreneurs we can leverage on technology? So that's a two-in-one question. The first one is, how do you think mentorship and training can help? And the second one is, can we leverage technology and how? At the Omolade, go.
All right, thank you for the questions. Okay, so I'll just go right into like mentorship and also networking, but I'm just going to try to explain them separately. So for mentorship, we all know like how powerful it is, in equipping and building people into how would I say it, role modeling into becoming what you want them to be. So for instance, you have a mentor. It could be a direct mentor, to be honest, it could be an indirect mentor. For instance, people have different mentors. Let's say Sarah Jakes or TD Jakes as their mentor. They've never met him or they've never met her, but they model what they see. Those things are powerful. You model into like what you want to see and what you want to become. So if you have like a woman in a career that you admire, or in your career or as an entrepreneur, and she has gone ahead to do certain things, it will be good for you. It will be good as an entrepreneur or as a person in whatever sphere you are in to model probably their life so that you can also access some of the things that you've accessed. And also like networking is also very important, right? If you enter into like opportunities, and if you have like a role model, for instance, if you have a direct role model or a direct mentor that can open up doors for you to access, that also makes it easier for you. So mentorship is very important to helping women, navigate their industry, reach the top of their career, right? Because if you've seen a woman in the top of your career at the top, it sort of shaping your mind to see that, oh, if she has done it, I can definitely achieve it, right? And if she has achieved this, I can definitely achieve more than probably she has done, right? So that's like how you can leverage mentorship. So you can leverage an indirect mentor, you can leverage a direct mentor. So for networking, it helps you and opens doors for you in different opportunities. You can receive funding through networking opportunities. This is not a mentor story, but this is a story that I remember that really touched me. I remember I heard at the Whisker event. There was an Whisker event that was done, and there was this lady, Awa Gambo, that shared her story at this event. Chimamanda was at this event, and then she that sort of asked people to raise money. So they organized another event for her. Our Gambo is a politician, a female politician, and then they organized a funding event for her so that they could raise money, and that money she was able to use to fund her campaign. Right, she had access to that money, right, because she was in the right network, she was in the right what's it called, circle. So that also helps you as an entrepreneur, right, finding yourself in the right network and leveraging those networks. So at this point, I really want to say that women need to learn to speak up right? You enter like into a room, or you enter like into like a meeting like this one. And sometimes we ask women, I really appreciate everybody here, plus the male allies and the women, on how we've introduced ourselves. Sometimes you find that women don't introduce themselves properly. I mean, I've seen it. I've done like a couple of research. Women who enter into rooms and sort of downplay their work. Please, as a woman, if you have, I mean, if you're in any room, right, please introduce yourself properly. That helps you, people see you and see the things that you do. They might not know you, but just like our Gambo, she shared her story that day, and that's how that funding was available for her, right? So we can leverage those kind of things. And even for myself, randomly, like I was at an event, guy event. I mean, I've never shared this story, but I was at a guy event, and that's how I met my boss, because I shared, what I was working on at that point. And then I didn't even mean to work with her. I just wanted to volunteer. And she'd already said if she was even going to reach out to me regardless, even if I had not reached out to her, right? So learning to introduce yourself properly helps you, right, stand out, because nobody will know what you're doing if you don't say it. Sometimes putting yourself out there as well. So that helps you network properly. So leveraging technology, I would say there are different ways. I mean, I've seen people leverage technology, right? It doesn't have to be the coding or the very serious things. It could be as simple as putting your products on seller, right? It could be as simple as putting your services on Fiverr, right? We have women making money, mothers, with babies, sitting down at home right now, making money from the comfort of their homes, just because they leverage basic technological skills. So you can think of the basic skills. I mean, we have like virtual assistant that have been flogged out. I mean, I was recently hearing somebody saying she's a musical artist. She does mixes for people, and then she put that as a gig or seller. She has not gone back. She has a full-time job though, but if I the seller job, I mean, sorry, the Fiverr job pays her more than her current job, and then she's able to make money for herself, build her family. So if you're an entrepreneur, you can leverage all of these outlets, these technological outlets. You can learn to use them, right? Even if you don't know right now. That's why, I mean, learning is very important for everyone. I mean, learn to improve yourself as a woman. So as an entrepreneur, you want to leverage technology for your own self, right? Even to put your brand on a global stage. I mean, that's where everybody's like, that's what we're all looking at. You want eyes on your business. You want foreign investors, to look at you and to invest in your business, right? But if you're not putting yourself out there, even leveraging social media, this is something that Jerusalem and I were talking about yesterday. Even leveraging a simple tool as social media. I mean, it's technology, but it might look like it's just basic. It's not basic. It is powerful because it will put you on global stages. I mean, so yeah, so that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for that. You are correct when you mentioned leveraging technology with the most simple tools, right? Sometimes when we look at technology, particularly, let me confess, social media, we look at it as so daunting. Oh, you're clout chasing, you're putting things online, you're trying to be all that. But that is you being visible. Because if we don't see you, we won't know what you're doing, right? And all the opportunities you could have access to might just pass you. They don't know you exist. So be visible, but be intentional about leveraging technology and being, as visible as you can in a good light. So thank you so much to my panelists. And I do apologize to some of my panelists who could not finish their responses because of network. It is a challenge we're all seeing, but we do love you. And if you still have a lot to say, you can optimize the chat box, right? Put the remaining part of your responses there. And for questions, please put them in the chat box. Our panelists will look through and see how they can also respond to you there. So a quick, recap of what we've been able to pick out today. We've talked about a lot of things, and we agree that we as women entrepreneurs, we do have challenges facing us. As an entrepreneur, you're expected to make financial decisions, take risks, make profits, or make impact, as the case may be, while still fulfilling your gender roles and other things. The burden of taking care of the household is still on you, mind you. And hopefully that changes soon, but it hasn't. So yes. But what some of the things that we can do to help ourselves on this journey that we're on is, as Deborah said, to checkmate our own biases. Sometimes it's in your head. Sometimes you enter a room and automatically you think everyone is out to get you. it's a good thing for us to start from there and decide that I'm enough. I have a lot to offer. No one is against me, even if they are. But believe that, you have friends in this room and I'm going to find them. I have allies in this room, I'm going to find them. And then another thing we can do, according to Yilchit, is to stop inactions around advocacy on matters such as we've discussed. Sometimes we see something happening, we're in a situation, and you can say something, you can do something to change what is being done, but you're quiet. Okay, no, it's not my business, or this is how it's supposed to be. This is how we do it. You're unconsciously enabling some of these issues that we, end up seeing as women. Another thing we can do is to model actions and processes of our mentors. This one is very personal to me because I have benefited from indirect mentorship. Sometimes some women wait for your mentor to, be with you one-on-one. It may never happen in this lifetime anyway. It might never happen. But sometimes when you consume their content on social media, you follow their processes, you learn from their mistakes, and you keep trying, you will get better, hopefully until you get to see them one-on-one one day. And last but not the least, we should definitely leverage technology. It is a tool that a lot of women globally are using to be amazing, and you can get in on the action. Just learn the simple things. We have YouTube, we have a lot of platforms where you can learn and relearn and get better at leveraging technology at your own pace, while keeping, of course, in mind your virtues and your values. Right. So thank you all so much. As I said, any question and answer, please put them in the chat box. We are pressed for time. And here is the end of my session. I will hand this whole event back to Baupolam ED. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to my panelists.
All right. Thank you very much, Clementina. Thanks to everybody who's been with us till this very minute. I don't know for you, but it's been a very enlightening one. And I know that we are like 30 minutes past our time. And because we are making conscious change, we are going to try to be on time. We are 30 minutes late today. We'll get better some other time. But then the internet did not help. So that's our excuse. Thanks, everybody. Let's not forget the takeaways from today's session. So it's not just another webinar. It is very important that we apply these things to our lives. Emmanuel said something about the women that he sees doing well are people that are very intentional. So I'm sure all the sessions those women attended, many other women attend them. But then the difference is those that here and those that take action. So let's put ourselves out there, ladies. A good start is to tweet, share whatever it is you've learned from here. If you know that you want to position as a woman who advocates for other women, nuggets from this session, don't keep it to yourself, share with people. Let people see you as a woman that advocates for the best of other women. At this point, for questions we are not able to answer, we are on YouTube, so you can ask your questions there, and the panelists will take time to respond to you as soon as they can. Thank you, everybody, once again. Aderian Sonla, is there any final words from Leap Africa before we call it a day?
All right, thank you so much, ladies. I wish you could see my heart that I've been so filled with joy. This is what the Leadership Accelerator program is about. Just ensuring that women find their voices and we come together. I think I like that word just says that together we are more, and you have just demonstrated it. So for our photo-ops, I think it'll be a nice time if you can, if the network allows you to
I think Aderisola's network is bad. She actually wanted us to turn on our cameras. So if you can turn on your cameras, please turn it on so we can take a group picture. I know a lot of people are leaving already. Yeah, please turn on. Oh, my camera is not turning. All right. Please turn on your camera if you can. And okay. I don't know who will be taking this picture, but we'll try. Let me give it a try. Yeah.
Hello, I think Larry is still on the call.
Well, Larry is still on the call, so I guess Larry will help us with taking the pictures then. Yeah, please, if you can turn on your cameras. And Larry, please, you can go ahead to...
The camera is on. I hope I'm looking good.
Wow, ladies.
Done.
Okay.
And the men too.
Oh, Larry, you should tell us to smile. Cheese, then
I know, right?
The IWD.